Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch One. Thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Perpetual. This is 37 millimeters, white gold, 18 karat. This watch represents an outstanding modern reference from JLC, as well as the continuation of an important company tradition. I'm going to put it on the wrist and talk a little bit about the importance of calendar watches in the JLC catalog. Since the caliber 412 date of the late 1930s, JLC has almost continuously featured some sort of a calendar watch, generally a complex calendar watch, in its catalog from the 30s to the present. Now, since 1989, the company has always had a perpetual calendar in the catalog, and in 1996, and continuously since 1996, the company has featured a simple that is not accompanied by a tourbillon, a minute repeater, or an alarm, a simple perpetual calendar. Now, this one right here may be a simple perpetual calendar, but it's a remarkably comprehensive one, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first, the fit and the wrist impression. 6 1/3 inches is the circumference of my wrist. That's 16 centimeters for those of you in the Valet de Jeu near JLC using the metric system. You can see that this watch is a traditional dress style, and in the last couple of years at Salon International in Geneva, at Basel World, the big industry trade show, we've seen the absolute cream of the crop, as well as all those who emulate them in the watch industry, start to move back towards these classical 37 to 39 millimeter dress watches. It looks right, it is right, and realistically, your dive watch might be oversized, but there's no reason for a formal watch to be built in that same image. It's a little bit comical, and JLC was ahead of the curve with watches like this in the mid-1990s. Now, from 1996, this reference was available in white gold, and this is something of a special edition, but it's emblematic of the essential qualities of the classical JLC Master line. And specifically, I'm talking about the curvaceous, in fact, the compound curves of the case. The curvaceousness of this case has sex appeal. It's sinuous, it's complex. When you have a smaller case or traditionally sized case, you don't have to go to extremes to make it fit on a human-sized wrist. On a lot of huge dress watches, you see the lugs suffer. The proportions of the lugs in relation to the case have to be pared down so dramatically that there's no room left after you've put a 43, a 42, a 44 millimeter dress watch on the wrist. There's no room left for long, sensuous lugs like the ones you see here that flare out and bend and taper. Because this watch is 37 millimeters, there's plenty of room for the lugs to taper and run wild from side to side and end to end. The bottom line is that this watch also has a gorgeous proportion of dial to bezel. You can see that there's a nice amount of tumble home, as if the watch weren't flat and thin enough. The fact that the bezel does slope down, and so does the crystal, means it will easily fit under any kind of dress cuff, even the tightest of the tight. This watch has a classical simplicity to it, and not just in the size, but in those proportions. When we talk about proportion, I mean things like the amount of dial real estate in relation to the width of the bezel, the size of the lugs in relation to the overall size of the case. These things matter, and elegance is being rediscovered, but you can get ahead of the curve with a watch that never got it wrong in the first place. This Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Perpetual, 37 millimeters in white gold. Now, the Perpetual Calendar right here is the same module developed by legendary IWC watchmaker Kurt Klaus. From the 1980s, IWC and Jaeger-LeCoultre have been sister companies. First in the VDO portfolio, that was a German company that made instruments, later being sold as a pair to the Richemont luxury conglomerate with which they currently reside. They've shared technology, JLC giving base movements to IWC, IWC allowing JLC to use their Perpetual Calendar module, and it is a brilliant one. Quite comprehensive. Not only do you have the traditional Perpetual Calendar date and month, you also have a beautiful moon phase at 6 o'clock, and it is the more complex 135 tooth moon phase disc, accurate for 122 years and change. Now, in addition to the date and month and that long-term moon phase, you also have a year indicator, but years and decades. Like I said, this is a very complex, very complete perpetual, as well as a danger zone indicator just above the cannon pinion at center. Now, when red begins to creep into that aperture, that's your cue that you shouldn't adjust the indications of the calendar. So this watch really is designed to be foolproof because you have that danger zone indicator telling you what time you shouldn't be setting the indications of the calendar, and you have a case flank pusher, just one, that actuates all of the coordinated indications of the calendar. So if the watch ever stops, all you need to do is start advancing the date and everything else moves in sequence, in step. They can never get out of sync. The only danger is you might advance a little too far, in which case you'll have to let the watch run down again. But between the danger zone indicator and the coordinated calendar, JLC has you set up for success. Now, there's more to this watch than meets the eye because we haven't seen the case back just yet. There it is, the Master Control, emblematic of the in-house chronometry controls that JLC pioneered in the early 1990s. Today, everyone claims to have in-house standards. The difference is that JLC was the first, and they publish their standards and tolerances, so you can hold them to account and take them to the task if they fall short. That's the great thing. Innovation, not just in watchmaking, but in the way they vet the watchmaking itself. There is one other little secret here, a half-hunter case back. Now the half-hunter was reserved for this watch because it was such a special piece. In white gold, featuring a flagship complication, JLC features the half-hunter so you can highlight the importance of the Master Control in 1996, still absolutely critical, still a real novelty, and only recently extended beyond the Master Control or then the Grand Tie model itself to the rest of the line. Master Control here blazoned on this half-hunter white gold caseback with the white gold medallion, and then inside a beautiful expansive view of the caliber 889 base movement that drives this complication. It is an 889 base movement with a 440/2 Perpetual Calendar module, bidirectional winding featuring JLC's famed rocker reverser wheels right here. They actually rock back and forth to ensure that the movement winds and it only winds the barrel in one direction regardless of which direction the rotor itself is turning. Also, in the early 1980s, JLC internally rediscovered the process for heat bluing, that is kiln firing and blue oxidizing movement screws, and so they feature them liberally because the manufacturer is quite proud of its heritage. There we go. You can sort of see it there. Quite proud of its heritage in craft watchmaking, and the blued screws were a big part of its comeback during the early 1990s from the brink of oblivion during the 80s. Circular Cote de Genève on the winding rotor and the bridges. It also features a nice tight even perlage pattern on the base plate itself, and there's a partially skeletonized mainspring barrel peeking out just beyond the bridge of the winding rotor system. It's a beautifully executed movement, beautifully executed in the somewhat austere but impeccably finished tradition of the Valet de Jeu, of which JLC is one of the foremost members. This Master Perpetual, 37mm in 18-karat white gold, is the perfect JLC, emblematic of their conservative but refined and elegant aesthetic. This is the Grande Maison at its best. There's no cost-cutting, there's nothing that's voguish, there's nothing that's anything short of timeless, there's no watchmaking that's anything short of masterclass. Check out this Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Perpetual 37mm white gold with outstanding condition, complete factory accessories on our website, Watch You Want. If you love JLC, if you love traditional watchmaking, if you love traditional dress watches, if you love complexity simply rendered, beautifully executed, the bottom line is this Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Perpetual just may be the watch you want.